Hard to believe we're a fourth of the way through the season already. We've had some phenomenal games already this season. We haven't had a game yet between two title contenders, but with the college football playoffs likely featuring many 10-2 teams, does it even matter? Of course it fucking does. One of these teams gets to lose. It makes it so much greater for the rest of us to watch it. Georgia and Alabama. This game has had national implications every time it's been played for the last decade, and this is certainly no outlier. The Georgia Bulldogs have been getting clapped by Alabama almost every time the two teams made on the field, including last year's SEC championship game, which excluded the Dogs from the playoffs. Going into this year, Georgia has struggled to find an offensive identity, as both of Carson Beck's strongest weapons, Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey, went to the NFL. They did pick up Trevor Etienne from the portal extracted from their hated rivals in Florida, but they'll need much more than that to beat the Crimson Tide. Beck would need an ace factor in the wide receiver core such as Arian Smith or Dylan Bell to even stand a chance. Coming off a struggle fest against Kentucky set up Georgia to answer some difficult questions going into this matchup. As they wouldn't know until game day, Kentucky isn't garbage, but that's beside the point. You aren't holding Alabama to 12 points. Alabama's biggest question above them all is how significant the retirement of Nick Saban would be. Though they picked up a home run hire in Kalen DeBoer, who as we know brought Washington to a national championship appearance, there is still the lingering question of whether it would be business as usual for the Alabama dynasty. These questions were gaslit following the offensive clinic Alabama left on the field against South Florida. Both teams are top 5 for this game, and of course College Game Day is in Tuscaloosa for the matchup of the season. Terry Saban is there too, which is cool I guess. This is the prime definition of a toss-up. The spread flipped in favor of Alabama from Georgia through the week, so not even Vegas knows who to drop the spread on. Thus it's time to see if Georgia can awaken the beast from within to extinguish their demons once and for all. As the game began, Georgia found out real quick that shutting down the passing game was just not going to be something they could do with Jalen Milroe at the helm. Fun fact, this was Emmanuel Henderson's only catch for the day. But it was a strong one which led Bama to their first touchdown of the night off a QB run. So how would Georgia respond to this score? By going down the field with their own big pass. No, wait a minute, hold up.
Pass interference, offense, number 6, 15-yard penalty.
With the golden opportunity to pour salt on the wound, Milroe took to his next target, Jam Miller, who scored another touchdown for Alabama. So how would Georgia respond to this score? Well, Carson Beck would do what he always does and find the clutch receiver to make a big play. Wait a minute, that's not clutch. Expect this to be a trend for a little while. Jeremy Bernard would pour on another score as Georgia was quickly finding themselves in desperation mode going into the second quarter. Finally, they managed to stop Alabama and set them up for a fourth down. Oh wait, they're going for it.
Milroe, keeper. First down and more. Tight roping down the sideline. Touchdown.
Okie dokie then. Well, that's probably GG's. Time to go home. Georgia fans calling for the firing of the entire staff. Benching Carson Beck. Georgia's going 8-4. Say it ain't so. I've said it before, but I think Georgia fans are the infestation of the college football world. If there's any conversation involving college football in this community, they roll themselves into it and have to have themselves included in the conversation in the most toxic way possible. Yes, there are many other fan bases with similar and possibly identical traits, but nothing to the extent of this parasitic entity. My personal biases aside, Georgia was likely fucked. So what if you scored? You're down 3 possessions against one of the top teams in the country on their home turf.
Invented for this game. Heavy pressure. Back off his back foot. Just heaves it to green grass. With the call.
Is a safety.
Alright, now you're down 3.5 possessions. Good lord, wave the white flag already. This game was over the moment Miss Terry showed up on game day. Down at the half 30-7, the outrage of the Georgia faithful and the agony they are experiencing, it is absolutely euphoric. Of course, there's still a whole nother half to go, but that's no reason not to say something at halftime. Just don't say anything too dumb that could come back to bite you.
I cannot explain to you in human emotions just how much pleasure this brings me. This is the greatest thing to ever happen in my time on YouTube. Other than, of course, us beating Alabama, this is the greatest thing to ever happen. Georgia fans, now not all of you, granted, it's not all Georgia fans. I'm friends with some of you. And for those of you I'm friends with, I'm sorry that you're stuck in this situation. But there are a lot of you on here that have been clowning me, heckling me, telling me how much my team sucks. Georgia Bulldog, back-to-back national championships 2 years ago. We own college football. Dirty. They let us in the playoffs. We would have won by 900 billion points and won the national title, and your team sucks and mine doesn't. Georgia Bulldog, back-to-back national championship. What do you guys say? What do you guys say about that, huh? 30-7. 30-7 to Alabama and Kalen DeBoer. Y'all told me you were gonna kill this team. Y'all told me you were gonna go on the road. We're gonna massacre Alabama. And it's my fault too. I picked y'all to beat Alabama. I did. And I should have known better because Alabama owns Georgia. Completely owns it. Alabama's Georgia's daddy in every which way, shape, and form. And it's my fault for picking it.
Remind me that whenever a team I'm rooting for has a lead, just to tape my mouth shut. This is the absolute most embarrassing thing I've seen in my entire life. You had a 3-score lead, and you shot on your own foot in the biggest game of the year! I originally gave this to Ole Miss, but I'm retracting it. Bama, you have earned yourself Clown of the...
And the catch is made. It's Ryan Williams, still spinning free.
All right! All right!
75 yards for the 17-year-old.
Alrighty then, never mind. Remember earlier when I talked about how Georgia needs an ace factor in this matchup? Alabama stole him, and his name is Ryan Williams. Get used to hearing it because he's just another Devontae Smith or Jerry Jeudy coming up. Okay, that's good, but the game is still far from over. We got 2 minutes left in this ball game, and Georgia's driving down the field. You know what's coming. The football gods demand it. Overtime in the biggest game of the century is upon us. Wait a minute. I just realized. Carson Beck is a non-believer.
Beck launches for the end zone. Jump ball. Intercepted. And Xavier Brown, the freshman, makes a game-saving play for Alabama.
Thank the Lord. What I just did was light up bottle rockets next to a nuclear warhead. If Georgia had somehow completed this comeback, this channel would be undergoing an apocalypse. Of course, as we know, this is Georgia's first and only loss of the season. They're still far from out of the party of the playoffs, but the margin of error has significantly thinned out. I'm sure Kirby Smart has the team thinking every sports analyst in the country is now picking them to go 7-5. Just keep them off the streets for a while, would ya? Of course, now Alabama is number 1 in the nation, and until they lose, it'll stay that way. My final conclusion, Ryan Williams for Heisman. I wonder how old he is.